Trophy asset.
Trophy asset.
Trophy asset buyers. That's a new type.
There's very few developers to this day that has not just launched, but actually handed over a luxury product. Very, very few projects, in my opinion.
15.
Yes.
Even better.
2000
years in Dubai.
2009. It's 15 years.
Wow.
The Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest tower. Do I have any affinity, or do I really... For me, I've been into Burj Khalifa. I don't see it that interesting personally.
Even though Dubai is a luxury city, unfortunately, we have a huge
We have a
shortage.
grandeur name. I don't think we have a luxury detail. We have the name, but we don't have the details that actually sell.
Today, it's luxury talk. I have with me someone that have been in Dubai for 9 years. It took me by surprise. I didn't know. I thought,
15.
hey, 15?
Yes.
Even better.
15 years in Dubai.
2009. It's 15 years.
Wow.
That's what caught your
The
head.
fasting is getting to your head.
number.
You're not
The
getting your
fasting
numbers
is getting
right.
in your head.
What?
The fasting's getting to your head.
Yeah, today I'm
He
fasting.
caught the 9 number.
Yeah.
No, you said 15 or 9?
No, I said 2009 I came here.
Oh,
Yes, I think
15 years.
Yeah.
Oh my God, 15 years in Dubai. Yasin is with us. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well. Thank you for having me.
Yasin, he have his own brokerage here, and he's specialized in the segment of luxury. I know we don't talk a lot about luxury on Chekd, but believe me, like Dubai and luxury real estate, there is a lot of misconceptions that we're gonna delve deep today with Yasin and Taya. Again, you already have seen Taya with me on the other podcast. If you didn't see the other podcast with Dr. Anand, you have to come back and watch it. But today it's another subject. How are you, Taya?
I'm very good. I'm too excited to have Yasin here with us today because, as you said, the luxury department or the luxury segment in Dubai is a major misconception. It's like a grander title, but when you go dive into the details, as we will do today, you start seeing the missing parts. And
Yeah.
that's what we will talk about.
By the way, Taya, she's helping me a lot lately. You're bringing this amazing guest to me. You arranged with me the podcast
You
with
pay me
Dr.
later.
Anand. Yeah, later I'll pay you. Dubai, everybody want his payment, all right?
Yeah,
Everyone's a commission agent.
First. Well, that's what we work for. But no.
Okay, look, Yasin,
It's a joke.
let's do one thing. Let's first get to know you more. Give us a brief background about you. Where did you come from? 15 years in Dubai. What did you do in this 15 years in Dubai, and so
Yeah,
on?
so a very quick brief because I don't want to go on too long. So I've been in Dubai since 2009. Previous to that, I was born in the UK. Lived there most of my life. Lived in Spain for a couple of years, hence the story I was telling you earlier.
Yeah.
I never did real estate in the well. I didn't think of real estate as a career for a very long time. When I lived in Spain, I was living in south of Spain in Malaga. So at the time, I ended up staying in Spain for 2 years, and I was kind of dropping into the Marbella scene. So Marbella is an extension of Malaga, and it has an incredible. It's like the LA of Europe. If you've been to Marbella, you'll know, right? And that's what piqued the interest of real estate. And I was like, wow, this is such an interesting industry. So when I graduated, went back to the UK, I started working for a company called Countrywide, which is the largest brokerage in the UK.
Amazing.
Worked there for 3 years. Then I had my own agency for 2 years in Manchester, which is where I was based. And then in 2009, when the global markets crashed, the UK had crashed considerably as well, which is when I decided to move here. I had a friend who I used to work with in Manchester who'd moved here 9 months previous.
Oh.
And I was kind of, I had a company, it wasn't making any money. I'd lost a lot because some of the projects I'd invested in basically went bust. And there was a lot of issues in the UK off-plan market as well at that time. And I had a friend who was living out here, and he was randomly on Facebook. He said, why don't you come and just move to Dubai? Real estate's incredible here. And because Dubai real estate is commission only, it's a very entrepreneurial mindset to do real estate here. It's not like where you go and have a salary. It's none of that, right? Unless you work for a developer, which is slightly different. But for a brokerage, generally, it's commission only. So for me, that wasn't daunting. I said, okay, fine. Let me try it for a year. Moved here September 2009. I've worked for multiple different companies. Started as a broker to senior broker, manager, director, partner. I've been through the whole 360 in terms of positions.
The ladder.
Yeah. And then more recently, I was a partner for Knight Frank. Knight Frank's a big global brand. I was in charge of the Royal Atlantis project on the Palm, which at the time was the prime project.
That's how I got to hear
super
about
How
prime
come
his
you were in
name.
charge of that? Can
Yeah.
you talk a little bit about this?
Well,
By the way, the Royal Atlantis, is this the most luxurious hotel in the UAE? Do you agree on that?
I think currently, yes.
All right.
Currently,
Yes.
I
I think at the
highlight
moment,
the word currently.
yeah, I think Atlantis Royal now is probably the most in terms of, and it's new as well. And the resort style
Yeah.
amenities you have there, it's second to none compared to any other, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So Knight Frank had a global exclusive to sell the project because that building is half residential, half hotel.
Yes.
The hotel component was never sold. The residential component was given to Knight Frank. And
Knight
we, as a
Frank, okay,
brand,
yeah.
we were selling the project, which is why I was involved in the Atlantis project.
So you're involved
In the sales of the
in
residential.
sales, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. So all right. And
That's how I used to know who he is.
So
when he
you're the
was
guy who
working
used to
with
sell
Knight
Royal
Frank.
Atlantis.
Yeah. But I'm more than just the guy who sold Royal Atlantis. But yeah, that's one of the things I've.
How many units you sold from Atlantis?
Royal Atlantis was, it was 231 apartments at the time. We sold them collectively as a team. We didn't individually sell them.
Okay, cool.
So when I say global exclusive, we as a company, so even if you came, you worked for an agency, you'd still have to do the transaction through us. So the developer, ICD were the developer, which is Investment Corporation Dubai, which is Sheikh Mohammed's, basically, it's his company.
Okay.
It's his holding company, in fact. ICD own a lot of things. If you do a bit of research on them, they own everything. Dubai Holdings,
True.
EMA, Emirates, everything is owned by ICD. And
All right.
ICD, it was their project.
So, but ICD did the Royal Atlantis directly without any other medium, as in EMA or other development.
No.
It was directly.
They built it, and then we were the agency that were
That sold
exclusively
it.
selling it. So if any client came or any agency had a buyer, they would come to us, and then we would sell the project.
So I think if investors knew this information back then, they would have trusted, because nobody knew that Royal Atlantis will almost 10x. You know what I mean? Almost.
As
But-
if it is today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, Atlantis is very interesting, right? Atlantis was launched originally around 2016, 2017. I didn't join Knight Frank until 2019. The sales were very slow, and this is just the truth.
Yeah.
People didn't believe a two-bedroom apartment starting at 7 million dirhams was worth the price tag in Dubai. They just like, it's $2 million. Who's going to pay that for Atlantis? And that was level entry, and then the apartments went up in price, right?
Yeah.
So for years we struggled. In 4.5 years, the project sold 23 apartments. He's giving you real numbers. 23 apartments sold in 4.5 years.
What?
Yes, that was
It's
it.
super low.
Super low.
But
super
this
low.
is how you sell luxury. You get a much slower transaction. You need to sit and wait, and that is actually what's happening today in Dubai Islands. People are not fathoming the fact that it will be the next super luxury part of Dubai because they are still thinking the same way they thought when they launched Royal
Yeah.
Atlantis.
But the interesting thing as well is the change in demographics, because traditionally Dubai has been a lot of Indian, Pakistani, a lot of Brits as well. But even if you look at the Brits who've been buying in Dubai, they actually Indian origin,
Yeah.
Indian or Pakistani origin in
Yeah.
British
True.
people, right? Then you had the local population, you had Chinese. And most of these buyers, if you look at their profile, they're value-driven clients. Value-driven means they're very, what do I get for my per square foot price? If I'm paying $1,000 a square foot, what am I getting in return? So when Atlantis was launched, these clients don't see a two-bedroom apartment which is 2,000 square foot and 7 million dirhams
Yeah.
to be value for money, which is why it was a very slow burner. But what was very interesting was the COVID period. COVID happened, 6 months of panic, March to October 2020. Dubai incredibly, dealt with the whole situation here very, very well. And that's where Europe started having a lot of the problems came onto the surface. Europe's always had issues in the background.
Yes.
But they were kind of, let's say, hidden or covert. When COVID happened, a lot of those issues came to the forefront, with taxation, with this, the government not really giving them. So these guys are paying tax, but what they're getting back in return, right?
Yeah.
And here we're not even paying taxes. So a lot of these issues started popping up, especially tax issues, let's say, in particularly. And then November 2020 is when the market turned in Dubai, and it has continued to now. If you look for the last, since the November 2020 is when it actually started going up.
Yeah.
After the 6 months of not knowing what was going to happen because of the COVID drama, right? And this is where Atlantis was extremely interesting. From November 2020 to November 2021. So keep in mind, we sold 23 apartments, which is 10% of the project in 4.5 years.
Yeah.
In the
And then they
next
sold the
12 months,
next.
we sold 90%, it was sold out.
Okay, so you think COVID it was the catalyst for people. It doesn't make sense to me. How come? So
The
so when those people were pushed out from Europe,
Uh-huh.
these type of clients, they see the value in this type of projects. Boom, it was sold, right?
So the COVID catalyst meant that you had a different demographic of buyers who came
Yeah.
to Dubai. So these value-driven buyers who want square footage for their money, they didn't see the value. European buyers are different.
Yeah.
Russians buyers are different. They will buy into something that they genuinely like. You know, the project, the resort style living, the amenities, the privacy, all that was part of that project. They put a value on that. Maybe more so than maybe other
And also
backgrounds,
being
let's say.
safe.
And obviously the safety element, and Europe has gone down
Yeah.
when it comes to safety as well, right? So all those buyers, if you then look at the demographics who bought all those apartments, were all Europeans. So we had a lot of Dutch buyers, a lot of Brits, a lot of French, a lot of Swiss. Obviously the Russians, but the Russians actually came after the project was sold out because
Yeah.
they came in the new wave when the war started. But Russians have always been big buyers in Dubai anyway.
Since before
they've
the
always
war.
been. Since
Yeah.
2009,
And
I've
still.
always
Yeah,
dealt
and
with
still.
Russians.
Still.
So they've never gone away.
And now, how much is one unit? Let's say the same unit that was 7 million, the origin price.
So
how much?
most apartments.
How much is it now?
See, it depends on the different types, but most apartments have tripled. So the
most
the least
success
they've done
story.
is tripled in price, but there's some apartments that have got 4 or 5x.
Wow.
But where people really made money is equity returns on that project. And I'll give you an example. I sold one of the units there for 21.5 to an Australian client, 4-bedroom, very high floor. He bought it. Very wealthy individual, has multiple villas on the Palm. Didn't really need that apartment. It was more an investment, but
Yeah.
he thought it could be my weekend home for my
make some
kids.
equity
He
on
actually
it.
bought it for his kids, right?
What?
Yes.
Yeah. So they didn't. Sorry
He's
to
a poor
interrupt
guy
you.
if he didn't get it.
So he had 3 kids because my kids can then enjoy the amenities of Atlantis.
I
Yeah.
have just an important question, so
Yeah.
we can continue this story with the Australian client. When these Europeans they were buying these apartments, were they considering them as a investment option or like as
End use.
oh yeah
90% trophy asset buyers. So trophy asset buyers are the buyers who have a property in Monaco. They'll have one here. They'll have one in London. This is the type of clients
what
that
they
bought
call them
Atlantis.
trophy assets.
Trophy
Yes,
assets.
these
yeah.
are the
Trophy
ones we
asset
like.
buyers.
Yeah.
Trophy
That's a
asset
new
buyers.
type.
Because trophy asset is Atlantis was a trophy asset at that time.
Yeah.
It still is because
It
it's
still
got
is.
that name and brand, right? And then what happened was, with this client in
Yeah.
particular, he bought it for 21.5. We got him a 40-60 payment plan, 40% during construction, 60% on handover, right? By the time the handover started, 2 months before, he said, yes, my payment's due, which is 60%. What do I do? Do I keep it or do I sell it? I said, my opinion, we get out. And as much as he's a very wealthy individual, he's not really the guy who sits and looks at graphs and see where the market is
Yeah,
going.
he have this hunch. He follow
He
his
knows
hunch.
the market's doing well, but he maybe the figures are not something he's very well aware of. So I said to him, 21 and a half, but you've only paid 9 million. This is what he's paid. He only paid 40%, right?
Yeah, he works on an ROE.
Yeah. So I said to him, on an equity return, I'm going to sell it for 36 and a half to 37. You'll be about 190% equity return. And he didn't understand. And he was like, that's impossible because I paid 21 and a half. I said, but you haven't paid 21 and a half. You've only actually paid 9 million. That new buyer is going to pay the other 11
Yeah.
and more, right? And then you're going to pocket 17 million, whatever it is, right? So just
You
think
know
about it.
that
And then that
almost-
covers your 9 plus the extra, right? And then we sold it within 2 weeks.
Wow, that's a
Do
good.
you know that this concept that is just basic mathematics
Yeah.
and basic finance, almost 80% of the agents in the market are not aware of?
ROE, yeah, I know.
Yet they just don't know what it
It's
means.
surprising you said, because most people don't know ROE.
They don't know what ROE
Yeah,
means.
I'm hanging
never
out
heard
with a
of
lot of good agents,
Oh, okay.
so they
You're
are
learning
they are
from the
yeah, they're tutoring me. Like I know some stuff. I can be an agent if I
Now
want.
you're gonna kick us all out
Yeah.
and be the best. in the
No,
market.
I'm
Secretly
will be
open an
al-
agency next
I'll
year.
be always the production guy. Okay, so I mean, you guys are from the real estate, and you bought into the luxury segment. Even
Yeah.
Taya, she's into the luxury segment with
I
Mr.
love
8.
that. I love being the
Yeah.
exclusive part of the market that not every day there is something or everyone can have
Yeah.
access to. I'm waiting for that big thing
Yeah.
that like the Royal
Yeah, I mean,
story.
Blue Waters also, we'll talk about it later with this 3x, 4x, 5x thingy. But what I want to ask you guys from the luxury, because I heard from the same people who taught me about ROE and all of these things, they told me, Waleed, in Dubai, even though Dubai is the luxury city, unfortunately, we have a huge
We have a
shortage.
grandeur name. I don't think we have a luxury detail. We have the name, but we don't have the details that actually fill. As if you have a cushion, but that cushion is empty. have empty. You need to fill things in.
Yeah.
This filler is what I am and Mr.
Today.
8 are trying to do.
So you agree that we have a huge shortage in the luxury segment?
With the prime and super prime, there's a huge undersupply. And I think people assume that, well, how's that the case? See, the thing is, everyone's definition of luxury is very, very different. I'd say 90% of developers that are launching a product now have luxury in the title. So when you see luxury every single day, so every project in JVC to Motor City to somewhere in the middle of nowhere, it's all luxury projects. And I'm not here to say, well, that's not luxury, because everyone's definition of luxury is very, very different, right?
Actually, yeah, that would be my next question. Let's define it. Let's give it the rules. But yeah.
So
From that developer's perspective and their demographic of buyers, that could be a luxury project. So who am I to say, well, that's not a luxury project, right? But then when people keep seeing the word luxury, and then all of a sudden people say, well, actually there's an undersupply of luxury and super luxury project. They're like, well, how's that even possible? When every project that you're launching there
super luxury
is luxury or super luxury. And obviously there's also exaggeration from some of these developers as well.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day,
It's the marketing team.
the way I see it, the proof is in the pudding, right? It's on the end product. There's very few developers to this date that has not just launched, but actually handed over a luxury product. Very, very few projects, in my opinion. Again, it depends on what your definition of luxury is.
Yeah.
But to the true definition of luxury, I think there's very few that actually attain that level. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of developers that are in the pipeline building these projects. But again, are they going to build from what the glossy brochures are showing? Because I think historically, there's been a lot of smoke and mirrors, the term smoke and mirrors, right?
and mirrors.
What they show and what you can get can be very, very different.
Yeah.
And I really hope for Dubai's sake and for developers' sake and for Dubai in general, that these developers where clients are paying these 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 dirhams a square foot, that they get that product that they've paid for.
Yeah.
And yes, currently there's an undersupply. If you got a billionaire coming to Dubai now,
What am I going to show him?
He might not have any option.
Listen, I need to say something. Even if what you are giving exactly looks the same, like the renders that you did as a developer, tell me where you're getting your supplies. This is my take on it. From a developer point of view, I'm personally aware of where I'm getting my products. And when I say I'm getting them from Italy, it means it's from Italy, not from a Chinese furbisher that is selling the Italian name, because that is also
happens
existence.
a lot here.
You have 3 levels of supply. You have locally sourced, which is, let's say, ceramics. They go to rack, they get it from there. I'm not saying that's bad, but that's the level of the entry level of the supply chain. And then you have the Chinese furbishing for, let's say, an Italian brand like Antonio Lupi. They have Chinese factories that do the name. And then you have the Italian level, which is exactly the level that me as Mr. 8 were trying to provide for the market. This is the difference. So you get the same look, but not the same performance.
yeah.
Look, I am from a luxury background, but in fashion.
Okay.
For example, Taya today, she brought an Hermes bag. That's
Hello,
an investment.
Hermes bag.
Yeah.
Hello.
So what's the
I have
definition?
more,
Yeah.
not just one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, she's showing off her bags. So for us, luxury, what we studied about luxury is that something is exclusive. It has a history in terms of who made it. It's something that it's what we come back to exclusivity, meaning there is a few, like it's very limited in terms of numbers.
Yeah.
It has the entity that created it. It's an entity that is known. It has a history, and the materials in which it was created, they are very high-end materials.
This is what I am trying
That's
to
luxury.
say.
From and I don't think from fashion to real estate it will change a lot.
No.
So
It's
to
just
ask
the
you,
concept.
what are let's say the guidelines of a luxury unit, let's say in the world or in Dubai, because
I
it's
wanted
a luxury
to
in
ask you this
Dubai. Yeah.
question. What do you think is luxury?
See, again, it's different for different people. For me, my personal take, what we've already covered, the quality of construction and the materials used, the brands that are associated in terms of the finishing, the companies that have been built, the location of the project.
Definitely.
Location, yeah, 100%.
Definitely.
You could build a huge luxury project in the middle of nowhere in a desert. Are you going to have a target market? Probably not. Right? If it's for something you're going to sell, then it has to have a target market as well, right?
Yeah.
So location's very important. In Dubai, beachfront, waterfront properties generally are what
Are
people
the
want.
most
I'm not saying it's the
luxurious.
only. I mean, you can go to Emirates Hills and Dubai
And
Hills
Al Barari
and Al
as well.
Barari, and there's some
Another
incredible properties there as well. But I'm just kind of generalizing, especially for apartments, let's say. It's more the kind of the beachfront, the waterfront living. But even you look at Palm Villas, historically, nothing has gone up as much as Palm Villas and Jumeirah Bay.
The
Why?
performance is just
Because
impeccable.
it's beachfront villa
Yeah.
plots.
I heard that's 7 or 17. I'm bad with numbers. Some 7 or 17%. Correct me on the comment section
Of what?
of units beachfront in the world.
17 in.
In what? What is
The number of units that are beachfront are either 7 or 17%.
of the world? You mean in Dubai?
Let's say in Dubai. So in Dubai, the number
Oh,
of
really? Okay, that I don't know.
I heard it so many times. Is it either 7 or 17? We can look it up on.
But
on
I did
Google.
not get
ChatGPT.
the.
Yeah, you can.
did not
you
get the
can ask
question.
ChatGPT
Is
if
there's
you
a-
want.
How
I'm
many,
not fasting though.
no,
Why
but I think-
didn't I get the
I think you meant
question?
how many properties in Dubai are beachfront.
Yes,
There's a
that's what I
percentage.
mean. Yeah, yeah.
Question,
No, it's just I
okay.
wanted to throw that. I wanted to show off my.
Honestly, I don't know that stat
Yeah.
personally, so
That's
I'll
an
have a
interesting
look.
question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the location is very key.
it's important. I didn't know that.
But then when it comes to location as well, so location one, but then the privacy and security of the project, because one of the reasons that people are moving out here, especially from Europe, let's say, the security is a huge element of it, and then the privacy element. If you're a high net worth individual,
Yeah.
you want that element of privacy. So security and privacy has to go hand in hand as well. It can't just be one and not the other, right?
Yeah.
And then within a resort, it's got to have amenities that are resort style living. They don't want standard amenities. They don't want your 4 or 5 different amenities. They might want 20, 25, private cinema rooms, private spas, gyms that are branded as well, cold plunge, and you got all sorts of wellness element to it as well,
This is
right?
why we have the Rolls. You can ask me about the Rolls Royce. This is exactly why you need to give something that no one else has.
Because they need to, and with that, with the amenities like a concierge service, right? It all needs to be interlinked. Because
Yeah.
I think the buyers now, they, compared to 10, 15 years ago, when I came to Dubai, the requirements of these high net worth individuals, let's say, were not as important. They didn't have such a big checklist. Nowadays, the checklist is much longer.
Yeah.
So if you're going to then brand yourself as a luxury project, you need to be ticking a lot of boxes, and you need to understand who's my demographic, who's my clients that are buying these.
Yeah.
Is it European clients? When the European clients generally, or Russians in general, this is what they're looking for, right?
Yeah.
So you have to also build around your target client base, right? So I think there's a multitude of elements. So it's not just the location, it's not about the construction, not just about the brands, but it has to be everything else, about the amenities, about the concierge service that it provides, the security element of it. Does it have a wellness sustainability element to it? Everyone's going the
He has a
sustainability route.
developer mindset.
Yeah.
But everyone's going the sustainability route, right? So a lot of
Yeah.
people are now concerned about sustainability.
Yeah. True.
In where they live, do they have a wellness? Is it built in a way that there's like a wellness resort? If you look at Alba on the Palm, which is
Your favorite project.
which is my favorite project. in
Alba.
Dubai. Yeah,
Alba,
Alba.
yes.
It's an
He
Omniat
told
project,
me.
right? If you look at that project, they've really covered a lot of these aspects. But don't get me wrong, there are 2 bedrooms on the furnished side, starting from 21, 22. The 3 bedroom in the non-furnished side are starting from around 40 million. So the pricing point
Wow.
is something else. So you can imagine the level of detail these buyers are going to be expecting, and when they're going for these briefings, the level of details they'll expect a developer to have. And the difference, obviously, with Omniad, which kind of puts it a level higher than a lot of the developers, is they have produced, they have delivered.
Yeah.
If you go to Lana Residences, incredible,
beautiful.
incredibly done. The apartments, the hotel. So if I'm a client coming to Dubai and I have all these multiple luxury projects, and I'm giving my own example because I've recently transacted there, and one of the things that it came down to was, okay, this is amazing. So we looked at multiple different projects with this client. It was a British client as well, right? But at the end of the day, it also came down to, I need to walk into one of their projects because I need to look and touch and feel. These brochures are amazing. And interestingly, a lot of the brochures that the client had sent me, he said, why have you not included these projects in our list? And I said, for this, and this. And even then he was like, I'm not convinced. I said, fine, I'll take you to the developer's office and I'll show you what I mean by that. Because he thought I was maybe hiding projects from, which I wasn't. Because all of these projects, or the developers that he was choosing, beautiful renders. Not one of them has actually delivered a project. Not one. So I said to him, what are we buying into, right? And the pricing point was not, okay, Omniat was still much higher in price, but not that much higher for a high net worth individual, right?
I got your point.
He walked into Lana, he went into One Palm is one of their older projects, but still you go to the amenities, beautiful amenities in One Palm, right? So he knows these guys are going to deliver on it. So I think
The look is amazing,
Yeah.
definitely.
So I think that really helps them because they are probably one of the early adopters of the luxury name, and they've gone with it, regardless of where the market went. And they're the ones who've already started delivering these projects. So some clients that might be a very high criteria for them,
Yeah.
that they need to have a finished product for me to walk into, which was what, for my client at the end, that's what it came down to.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'll tell you, now the market is actually walking and moving towards that. Everyone is buying in a slow pattern. I don't want to call it slow, more thoughtful.
Yeah.
Because now they're
Yeah.
buying things that they are gonna be either living in, or they are already bought studios and one bedroom apartments all over, let's say JVC, Motor City, Business Bay, and now they want something. Now we are talking about luxury. When you are buying luxury, you are really thinking about it. You're not just like walking into, oh, I'm gonna buy this penthouse, yeah. I think it's good. No, you're gonna focus on every detail. You're gonna look at the doors. As he said, you need to touch and feel, because it's something very, very niche. And based on Omniat's story, it actually inspired us to what we are doing, because that's what we want to be labeled at. We want to be called, oh, they are very high end, based on, of course, the delivery and the look, not just the render. And then you add the missing part, which is the material. And for that, I can argue with any developer about their material.
I want to ask a technical question.
Yeah.
I mean, especially to you, Yasin. You said that sometimes developers, they don't have a track record. They're new. But we all know that developers, they work with contractors. The contractor is the guy you
I was
wanna
gonna
say
yeah,
that.
you wanna
Yeah,
study.
yeah.
Because the
Yes.
developer, he is branding, creating the brand and all of that, and funding.
He's packaging it for
Yeah,
you.
he's funding. He's the money guy or the money entity. The contractor is the person or
Who actually physically build
the
it.
entity you have to check. So basically, I mean, from this aspect, if you are dealing with a new developer, because there's a lot of new developers, and they don't have a track record, is checking who's building for them is enough for you to
I
trust?
think for some clients it would be, because the track record would be then of the contractor as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, the developer is one thing, but if that developer's never built, then what do you go off, right? Then you go off with the contractor. And it's interesting you mentioned it, because most people never ask who the contractor is, which
This
baffles
is what
me.
drives me crazy.
No, everyone goes to developer's office.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
one ever asks who's. People's assumption is
Mm-hmm.
that the developer actually build the projects. They don't, unless you're Sobha, someone who have it in house.
Yeah, in-house, yeah.
But it's extremely rare. A company has a full 360 like Sobha.
We have only Shoba, actually.
I think there's another one I've come across as well, but a smaller one.
Yeah.
But in general, it's only as a bigger
Yeah.
developer. So no one else has. So then it comes down to who's a contractor and what's their track record. What have they built?
Yeah. And do you
But
think...
conception is number one. I just really, because I've dealt with this situation many, many, many times on many projects that I've done personally. When we have a contractor, for example, I did a project in JVC. The contractor who was doing it was the one who was building for Emaar Arabian Ranches. People have no clue. And the client asked, who's this? I'm like, do you know who built your your townhouse for Arabian Ranches? He's like, no, I don't, because it's Emaar. I'm like, exactly. It's the same contractor. So learn, be more knowledgeable.
People. So let's say this is the developers. The contractors are just slightly less. Well, there is more, but like the big ones, they're
The
very less,
conception.
and they're building for all these developers.
Yeah.
So if you want to buy from a developer, you have to ask them who's the contractor, and the contractor. Some of them have a big name. If each one of them have a specific thing special.
And
about
even
them.
more so when they're a new developer.
Yeah.
Then the contractor is really key.
Yeah, but my question is, do you think the fact that in Dubai there is less luxury units and projects is because we have less contractors that are specialized in luxury? Is this the...
No, I think what it is, there's a lot of luxury projects are in the pipeline.
Oh, yeah.
It's just currently finished product,
We don't have.
very, very little.
Let's wait and
Very,
see.
very little.
So do you consider Burj Khalifa as a luxury project?
I think it's a prime project.
Question.
It's a prime project because it's the Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest tower. Do I have any affinity, or do I really? For me, I've been into Burj Khalifa. I don't see it that
It's a
interesting
normal
personally.
quality.
And obviously, it was built 2009 or 10 was the handover. So you're talking 15 years now, right? And things have changed drastically. It's very dark. It's kind of got the dark theme. Now things have gone lighter.
Yeah.
The whole look and the contemporary modern look is very different now to what Burj Khalifa was built at. But that is still classed as a trophy asset.
It's a trophy
Yes,
asset.
that's still a trophy asset. Yeah.
You know, I learned from you this new thing, trophy assets.
Trophy asset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all based on conception.
Yeah.
You need to link them together.
Yeah.
How you perceive something, regardless of is it actually that high end or not.
Yeah.
I think there is a fine line between these trophy assets and luxury assets. There's a fine line
It's
between
trying
them.
to combine the two. So for me, it's Burj Khalifa is more of a trophy asset. I wouldn't really say it's at the same level of the luxury that's coming into the market. Because for some people, they might want to say to their friends, I bought a property in Burj Khalifa. That's a trophy asset where when I go
Yeah.
to Dubai, I stay in Burj Khalifa. When I'm in London, I stay here. So for them, that's the way
Yeah.
they might not live here full time, right? So that's where the trophy asset thing comes into it. There could be better products, but for them, they might think, oh, well, if we tell our friends
It's
back
Burj.
they might not know what this project is.
Yeah.
Let me just buy Burj Khalifa. It's a safer bet.
You know, I had a very interesting conversation with one of the brokers that I learned from. He told me, Willie, there is 3 types of when you want to buy a unit or real estate, you have to think with 3 mindset. Either we say you live in it, either is an investment meaning capital appreciation or rental yield, or money preservation unit. So you buy it because you are sure that within 100 year, 50 years,
Generational wealth.
yeah,
That's what it's called.
it's
Yeah.
like you're stocking your money.
Yep, and
yeah.
it just
And
accrues
he,
over time.
Yeah, he told me either land or either what you call, because you gave it the right name, this trophy assets.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think these trophy assets, maybe they don't appreciate highly, but they will never drop.
They're consistent.
They're consistent.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's safe.
Yeah.
It's a safe thing.
That's, by the way, how the market is going. I think everyone is adapting the safe mindset. No one is jumping into it. As from my department, what I'm looking at, people are not jumping into anything at the moment. Because from me, I'm not selling something as a small ticket or like, yeah, whatever, a studio. No, I'm talking about luxury. People are actually being very thoughtful when they are doing a transaction. And you know that better because that's what you deal with. A transaction with you takes longer than someone
In
buying
general, of course.
buying a
Yeah.
one bed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How much
the
you-
process time can take a long time.
Yeah.
And the difference with me is as well, especially in the last couple of years, is most of the buyers that I work with are exclusively signed with me. So I sign them on an exclusive basis.
Oh.
So they only work with me.
That was
They
good.
like
How
him.
how
They
you how
like
you
him.
made them?
They like him.
See, everyone always asks me, but that's impossible. Why would a client sign?
Because you wasted a lot of energy and time.
If people ask me that question, it's because they themselves don't have a value proposition. I know what I bring to the table, right?
Yeah.
If I'm a high net worth individual moving to Dubai, one thing I've noticed is people with a lot of money, they're time poor. They don't have time
Yeah.
to be pissing about. Sorry, to be
You can
messing
say
around.
whatever you can say whatever,
whatever
you
you
can
want.
say the F word here, but
Yeah.
we're fasting, but it's okay, you can say it.
To be working with multiple different brokers, showing a multiple different thing, and
And answering them.
and not only that, every agent has their own bias, to certain projects or certain developers.
Commission.
Yeah, and if it's off plan, then it could be commission driven as well, right? So this is why buyers are always on the back foot because they're a little bit nervy. Am I dealing with the right guy or not? So for me, if I give them my value proposition,
Yeah.
why wouldn't they sign exclusive with me? That's the way I put it to them. I'm not saying everyone does, but the ones that do, I convert, and every one I've signed have.
What's
dealt
your
with me.
value proposition?
Where do I start? I mean, do you want me
It's
to give my value
him.
proposition?
This is why he
like
isn't here.
because
Yeah.
I think it's related to time, because you said something interesting. I like the terms you use. You said rich people are time poor,
Of course.
which is
They
so
don't have
real.
time to mess
It's true
around.
because they're
Like,
rich,
give
but
me-
they're poor in terms of
you-
time.
Give me-
you
give
have
me
to-
the butter.
They're rich financially, but they're poor exactly
In
right?
time, right?
So you have to think from their mindset.
So your value proposition is you will sign this exclusivity deal with me because I will not waste your time.
It's not about not wasting my time. My value proposition. First, I need to tell if you're a client and you're coming to me, you're not going to sign exclusivity just like that because you don't know who I am.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, they've either been recommended, so they may know a little bit about me, but that still doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to sign with me. So for me, when I meet a client, see, everyone's value proposition is different. So from my experience, not only working in Dubai but also
Yeah.
in the UK as well. I've got over 20 years of experience. I've dealt with high net worth individuals. I've done that for a very long time. I'm a property owner.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm a prom Jumeirah specialist, right? But I put my
So
money
when
where
they
my
look
mouth
at
is.
him-
I bought on the prom myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of the agents, no
They
offense
don't
to
have-
agents,
yeah.
how many agents even buy properties in Dubai? And then they're trying to push a product that they don't believe in. Everything I sell, I believe in. I don't
Oh,
push
thank you
products that I
so
don't
much for
believe in,
saying
right?
that.
So clients, when they see my history, what I've done, who I've worked with, the partnerships, the brands that I've associated myself with, why would Knight Frank bring me on if I was just,
Yeah.
So when you look at the whole package, right? For me, if I'm a client, the way I put it across to them is, why wouldn't you work with me?
Yeah, I have
Because,
the record.
yeah.
I'm a fellow investor like you, and I am doing this for the love of it, and I believe in the products I'm selling.
And I'm not the guy who's come off a plane who can't find a job and jumps
Yeah.
into real estate, right?
True.
There's
Which
not
is
many
90%
no,
of it.
but that's 90% of the agents
This
in Dubai.
is
I'm sorry,
crazy.
right?
Yeah,
I came
is
to
crazy.
Dubai with 5 years real estate experience. As much as the UK is very different, right?
yeah.
This is my career. I'm not doing this as a little fad to make quick money. You know, but how many guys are making money and next year
Oh,
you ring the developer's
sadly,
office or
he
you
is
ring,
right.
they
Yeah.
don't work here anymore. Of course they don't, because they made money. They got a
Done.
small mindset of cashing in a short period of time and exiting.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of these type of agents, right?
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
the way it is, right? And when I tell them, and the buyers are aware of all this, by the way. So when I'm telling them all this, for them, if they're a serious buyer, by the way, and they only sign if they're serious.
Of
If
course.
they're not serious, then they will like, let me think, Everyone, and I'm not to say every buyer who signed exclusivity with me has closed with me.
You know, there is something else I will add for this. You can be an agent. You
Yeah.
can be an agent. You can do your RERA, study a little bit about. You pick you pick what a region, or you pick a brand
An
you work
area
on.
specialist.
You,
or
or you
niche.
pick
something.
yeah,
You
a
pick your
niche.
niche.
Yeah, you pick your niche, and you can be an agent. But you cannot be a luxury good specialist
Oh.
just from day one, because even going back to fashion, the artisans that build or they make the bags, they have to have at least 20 years in the market as doing normal bags. Then they recruit them.
Yeah,
They have to have especially the high-end bags, like if you're gonna use a certain type of leathers.
100%.
Same thing in real estate. You cannot be a luxury expert if you don't have at least maybe good 5 years of experience.
When-
They try, but they will not gonna make
Yeah.
it.
In the UK, I sold properties at 100 to 200,000 pound, which is 500,000 dirhams to a million dirhams. That's what I sold. I never sold luxury
It's
in
a
the UK.
mindset, Yasin.
But the thing is, that was the foundation
The basics.
to come here. You get agents who come into the market. So obviously Dubai is very, very different. And I know the logistics and market is very different to 15, 20 years ago. But here, the problem can be, you're an agent, tomorrow you become a real estate agent, right? There's hundreds of developers. And a lot of these developers have really nice showrooms and show apartments and show villas or whatever, right? They all want to make the big bucks from day one. Everyone wants to make the big bucks from day one. But guess what? You got to prove yourself. Like, you got to have skin in the game. You can't
Yeah.
just overnight become. And there are people who get lucky. Don't get me wrong. There's guys that'll do it for a year and they'll hit the jackpot. And a lot of it's not luck. It's probably there's a lot of hours and dedication they're putting behind it, which is the reason they're converting. Or they have a network which is unbelievable, which is opening doors for them.
Yeah.
There's always some reason that people in a short period of time can do very,
Succeed.
very well, right? But most don't have that, right? But most want to start selling 20, 30 million dirham villas. They've never sold a studio for 500,000. Like, come on, guys. Like, you need to work yourself up. Like, for me, agents should even do rentals. Just understand the mindset of how tenants think. Because most of these agents are probably tenants themselves.
Yeah.
So why not work with tenant? Because you have the same mindset as
You
them.
understand them.
Do some deals, get the confidence. Now start doing some sales. Maybe do off-plan if you want, or do secondary, but have a niche. You could be developer-centric. I only sell
Certain
certain developers. Or I have a pricing point. Me, I was a niche for the area. I was Palm Jumeirah specialist. Obviously, it's gone much more broader than that. But that's what I'm known for, as the Palm guy, right? But have a niche and then build up. You start working on the Palm. You're selling a studio for $1 million. After 2 to 3 years, you're selling the 3 to 4. And after 4 or 5 years, you're selling the villas, right? It's got to be a gradual progression. And I get it. You can shortcut these things with certain ways, and I'm not saying it is possible to shortcut, but for the 90% majority, it's not how it works. You have to have skin in the
Yeah.
game. You got to go through the process.
You know, there is something I hate about human nature, is that when you want to start a venture, or you start an adventure, let's call it, because being an entrepreneur is an adventure.
It is.
A lot of people, they went to that adventure and they say, okay, I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna have the shortcut.
Yeah.
They assume that they will have the shortcut. Okay, they believe in manifestation and all of that spiritual stuff. Okay, that's good. But like, if you go to it and it's like, I'm not gonna do it because of the shortcut. I'm gonna do it even if the shortcut didn't happen. They have more chance to succeed.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I think that's in Dubai, basically.
And I
how
think in
people
human
think.
nature as well.
And to that point as well, where people can succeed quicker, if they get the right mentors and coaches on
Yeah.
board, they can shortcut that. When I said they
They
can,
can
that's what I mean.
shrink
Because
the.
if you have a really good mentor, you're getting coaching from them. What can take 4, 5? Me personally, I did a lot of trial and error. I made a lot of mistakes. with everything, right? And then things work, things didn't work. I never had a mentor. I never had coaching or whatever, right? And that's why maybe it took me, but then again, I've been in the industry for a very long time, but it took me time to get to the level to where I am at. But I'm not saying it needs to take that long. If you have the right people or the right people
Around you.
surround you as well, of course you can, cut that lag time
elevated.
out.
Yeah,
of course.
because the mistakes they did, they will tell you about them.
Of course, you
and
read
you're
the,
prepared.
Yeah, you read the right books, you take the right
Courses.
yeah, and it'll tell you mistakes that these people genuinely made. So then you can avoid these mistakes.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, let's come back to.
But I just
sorry,
want
yeah,
to say
please.
one thing. All of this input to you, if you're not made for that as a person, you're not gonna make it.
Yeah, it has
That's
to be
what
in the blood.
that's what differentiates a good. I'm not gonna call it an agent, entrepreneur, successful business person, or not.
Yeah.
It's either you are made for it mentally, physically, also your personality really plays a big role.
No, because it's true, because you could take the best courses in the world, pay the best coaching and mentoring, but there's no execution at the end, you're wasting your money.
Yeah.
And I say that all the time. There's all these agents, yeah, but I've read so many books and I've done this and I go to all these shows where these people are on stage screaming or whatever, right? but nothing changes. But why does nothing change? Because they don't have the execution part, which is the most key
Important,
part of
yeah.
anything.
Remember,
So
we spoke about that. When you hear something and you don't really execute it,
They don't
you
execute.
cannot.
You can read one book. A guy can read one book and take everything, make notes, and execute, and do much better than a guy who reads 10 books, but doesn't actually.
Yeah.
He doesn't take anything in. It's just I read 10 books.
Yeah, or he
Oh, I
executes for
went-
a good month or
I
two
went to
and then
an
he give
event.
up.
Yeah, doesn't have the
Yeah.
consistency or the discipline to continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's come back to our subject, because you said Waleed, we have in the pipeline a lot of luxury projects coming in Dubai.
Now we don't agree. I disagree with him.
You
on this.
disagree on
Yeah,
that?
of course I do.
So
Because
you
I'm
don't
the
think-
developer. I really know what is the supply chain for any of those mentioned projects.
But I think we cannot have. Okay, when I say we have a lot of luxury projects in the pipeline,
I mean,
a lot in
super
luxury is
end.
less.
But what I
Yeah.
said was a lot of luxury project where the proof is in the pudding. That's what I said.
Yes.
So
So we will see.
The projects are there. They've been branded, and the pricing that they've charged is what
Should
you would be
be.
paying for a luxury project.
Should
But
be,
in 3 to
yes.
5 years,
We will
when
see
these
if-
projects all get handover, then we will see which developers have actually delivered what they say they were going to deliver.
We will try the pudding.
Yeah.
I'm putting.
We're going to have one of two things. Either all the developers are going to deliver really incredible projects, and then we'll have a lot of good prime and super proper, or we're going to have the opposite, which is they're not going to deliver what they say they're going to deliver. I hope it's
Oh
the
my
first
God.
one.
Yeah.
Of course, we want Dubai to be
Because
the best.
we need it to be the first one, because
Yeah.
then people will lose a lot of trust if they pay 10,000 a square foot and they get an apartment that's 3,000 a square foot
Yeah.
quality.
And then the hit on Dubai is gonna be major if they don't.
Just let me help you, because the acoustics should be
Perfect.
like this. Yeah. Okay. Look, regardless of we have a lot or not, but you think we don't have a lot, we have less, because what
I
you
think
is
we have nothing
you
so
think
far.
scenario 2 will be executed. That's why you think we have less.
I hope it's not.
But this is your intuition.
because I see where they're getting their materials from.
So
It's
okay.
just 1 + 1 = 2.
Okay.
So where is the okay? So if I gave you a material that is not really good and you did a good render, you did how it looks. So where's the filling coming from? Where are you compensating the lack of a good material? That's what I'm asking. So
Well,
how
that's
are
a
you
valid
gonna
point.
deliver?
Yeah.
See, I'm not from the developer side. You know, so at the end of the day, I'm outside in. She's inside out because she works for a developer,
Yeah.
right? So for me, I can only go off what developers are saying they're going to build, because
Yeah.
I don't know the internal
either
logistics
trust
of
them or not,
what
of
they're going to build.
course.
And that's why I always say, let's see in the next 3 to 5 years what these developers. There's some developers that I don't even. I'm 100% against them. I don't want to name names here.
Of course.
I do not trust
Can
that they
I-
are
can
going to
I?
deliver the
Can I
product.
start naming?
You know,
We don't have
I
a
don't
problem. It's
Yeah.
Ramadan. We're slow. We're gonna have a
I'm
peaceful
gonna
month.
be kind and
but,
nice
but I,
today.
I wish that they prove me wrong, that when they do deliver these projects and I go in, I'm going to be, oh wow, they've really
Yeah, they
delivered
did
what
it.
they say going to deliver. But like I say, it's going to be interesting next 2 to 5 years.
By the way, I just want to say something. Whenever you are before handover, you're able to change things as a developer. So whatever they sourced and paid for, they're able personally, and I don't know how they are well put financially, but they're able to change their supply chain. So you're able actually to do what you promised
Rectify.
to do. Yes. I worked on a project, for example, I'm going to say the name because it's a very good example with IGO. He personally upgraded the apartment on handover from his own pocket because the market quality shifted.
Dictated it, yeah.
Yeah, 3 years later, new things are there. He's like, I'm going to do better. This is an example of for every developer, they can do that.
Okay, so the question that will follow what I asked you regarding the pipeline and luxury and all of that, I'm seeing a lot of the trend lately about real estate is that they're doing what we call branded residences. Now, does branded residences and luxury residences, I mean, is branded residences included in what we call luxury? Is branded luxury, or branded is something and luxury is another thing?
Yeah. So the reason a developer brings a brand to the development is to give it that luxury feel and element, because then there's a brand attached to it. So you know, when luxury or luxury buyers have certain criterias, one of those criterias could be they want a brand attached to the project, right? And then that would also give them maybe some element of a trophy asset because it's, you know,
This
Bulgaria.
brand.
We have trophy assets now as
Yeah.
another
You
term.
will today write it down.
Yeah.
we
trophy
can do a whole podcast
Yeah.
on trophy assets next.
It's the most exciting
but
thing.
Interestingly, branded residences, Dubai is the number one city in the world for branded residences. It's overtaken Miami, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Miami was the number
Doing
one.
this thing? Oh, I didn't know that.
Branded residences, yeah. Miami was number one globally. Now it's Dubai, right? So Dubai has just taken off when it comes to branded residences. What I would say is not all branded residences are created equal. So what I mean by that is when you attach yourself to a brand, a developer attaches to a brand, what is the brand bringing to the development? A lot of the time, the only thing a brand brings is the use of their name for 25 years. That's it. So
Exactly.
where's the value add? Absolutely no. And I don't want to name names again, but there's a lot of these projects where the developers are just paying them X amount of money, bring the brand, and now they're selling that project under that brand name to help the sales, because they're going to say this is a brand. But then if you dig deep and say, well, what's a brand actually bringing to the table? Well, not really very much.
Are they doing the couches? Are they doing the walls? Are they?
Then you get the brands that are bringing something to the table. Maybe they're designing the lobby, the foyer area. Maybe look at Dorchester. Dorchester's
Yeah.
a brand. What do they pretty much fully manage the building like a Dorchester hotel. So I know that they're bringing something to the table.
Yeah, but that makes sense in construction point of view. But if I'm bringing, I'm trying not to say names, bringing a car branding to a building, what is it gonna do to the building? Like,
Yeah.
I really want to know, touch and feel, what is this branding in the building is gonna actually give me?
Yeah.
But
Well,
it
we
just
don't
adds-
know still
it
yet,
just
but what
adds-
the know-how of that, yeah.
So that's the thing. So either they bring nothing to the table, they just give you a lease to use their name, or they bring something to the table, which could be something to do with the amenities or something to do with the lobbies, or they could be furnishing the property with their brand, for example. So they at least bring something to the table. Then you have the ones that are fully integrated into the developments, and they're normally the hospitality brands. They, for me, are actual branded residences.
Yeah, like for example,
Dorchester, W Atlantis. Why? The hospitality. They know what it means to be a hospitality brand, because that's what they do. That's their core business. They're not a car business. They're not
I
a
agree.
fancy watch or whatever it is. Because, right? So what do they know about property and residential properties? If if you're a watchmaker,
Yeah,
for example.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I said. I personally worked with Accor. Their branding is totally different when it comes to finishing a building and actually being integrated in the process than a watch branding.
Yeah, I mean, in also
Because they are in
the same
hospitality.
thing we face when and I used to face in fashion, because for example in Louis Vuitton they have their own watches, and a client comes to me and like, oh, what do you think about Louis Vuitton watches? It was like, you guys do bags. What do you know
About
what?
creating
about
a watch.
creating a watch? And I think it's the know-how. It can like the know-how that a certain brand give to a certain item, creating a certain item. If the same know-how and like also a collaboration with the talent from another field, it can bring something. I don't know, like, of course, like from
Value.
watches to buildings. I don't know.
How they managed to do that.
But that's my point. They need to be bringing something to the table.
Yeah.
I see a lot of these brands, they're not bringing much to the table. A lot of them are just leases or agreement
A
with
name,
the developer.
a name,
That it's just a name they're going to
yes.
give them for 25 years, and that's what the building will be called. What happens after 25 years then?
So it's more of a trophy.
They take the watch out.
So I think it's a trophy I think it's a trophy unit more than, or a trophy real estate more than a luxury real estate. And that's
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
So for some people, that would be a
Exactly.
trophy asset.
It's a trophy asset.
Yes.
Sorry, yes.
Branding doesn't always mean value when it comes to material things. It is there in the conception.
Yeah.
And keep
Back
in
to the
mind as well,
conception.
when you bring a brand, the service charges go up considerably. So as an owner, if I'm buying into a branded residence, this is why I need to understand what's the brand bringing to the table. Because if the
You're
if the
paying
service
for
charge,
it.
if the service charge should be 20, but now it's 35 dirhams a square foot because there's a brand attached to
branded.
it. What's the brand bringing? Why am I paying the extra 15 dirhams?
Yeah.
It could be because they're paying them so many millions and millions to use the brand. They've got to get the money from somewhere.
Also, unfortunately, we're living in a world like, also for me, let's say talking about ready to wear. She's wearing Gucci, right? So it's a luxury brand. No, now the luxury brand is selling the status.
Yeah.
The same,
This
the,
is
the
exactly what
same
we're
cardigan. It can be the same. I'm talking quality.
Exactly the same.
The
yeah.
material.
The
you
same
mean.
quality.
Yeah.
You just replace the G with the A. The value drops because there is no status.
Yeah.
So they're selling status.
This is exactly what branded
And status
residences
is
are
worth
doing.
it.
Yeah. Which is why people pay more money for it.
Yeah, it's I think. Thank you for teaching me this, Yasin, about this a trophy asset, because now you added the puzzle in my head. Like like there was a
You
puzzle
filled-
missing.
There, you filled the
And now
part.
you're like, ta-da, like I know, because I've been in also in luxury goods, and people are, I can see them. They're buying the status. They're not buying the quality, even though the quality is there, but they're buying the status.
And other things who have the same quality don't have the same status. That's
Yeah.
exactly what happens in our daily market every day.
Yeah,
So, for example, we're using Bugatti as an example. I don't know why, but the status of Bugatti, even though they're using the same glass, let's say in the building next door, it's not the same.
yeah, because there is Bugatti here and there is.
Yes, there is none there.
Yeah, because I think branded residences, from a guy who worked in luxury in terms of fashion, they make sense because I've seen the consumer.
Behavior.
I know
Behavior
the
towards
consumer
it, yeah.
behavior towards brands,
How
and
they
it's very
react to a
powerful.
name.
Which is why the
And I'm a
developers
branding
do it.
guy. I do personal branding in my life, so I know what does mean branding. I know
I'm
exactly
a victim
how.
of
Yeah.
that too. You are too.
We all are. Yeah.
Yeah, I know the
Especially
psychology
ladies.
behind branding, and it's very powerful. And Dubai, it's leading. I didn't know that's the first in the world in terms of branded
After
residence.
Miami,
Yeah,
yes.
and I think that.
Sorry, before Miami.
Yeah, that's crazy. So just last question, guys, for you both. What's in the pipeline? What's the best project you think in terms of luxury is on the way? I have one.
I
in my
think
head.
I've already mentioned, man. Back in
He likes-
re-mention
likes-
it.
Omniat one, the one,
So
yeah.
there's an Omniat project, Alba Residences on the Palm, East Crescent. It's the first Dorchester hotel in the world that's going
Wow.
to be on the beach.
Wow.
So for me, that's a massive USP.
Yeah.
So as long as they've
Of course,
got a
beach
residential,
always wins.
so they've got a residential component, then they've got the hotel element, and then they've got Dorchester not only
Branding.
managing everything, but they've got our own Dorchester hotel there on a beachfront. I mean, it doesn't
It
get
ticks
too
all
much
the
better than
boxes,
that. Yeah.
especially on a palm.
And Omniat's building it, so you've got the trust there. as
Okay,
well.
I have a personal question. I don't
Yeah.
care. I'm gonna ask it. How much was your biggest transaction?
That's not personal. That's
That's
something
not
he should
well,
be proud of.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's not personal.
In terms of fees or what?
No, I'm not gonna tell you what's
Not
the commission you
commission.
got.
The
okay.
sale.
That's
Ah,
too personal.
57 million.
You saw the unit for 57 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've done
A few for 57.
57.
Stop
is no-
showing off.
No, I'm so proud of you.
It's
That's
57
why I
Dirhams,
told you
right?
I'm very impressed
Dirhams,
with
yeah.
him.
Which is in dollars, but still in dollars is a lot.
No,
Oh
no,
my
no.
God.
Numbers get fuzzy in real estate. Everything is just
It's
numbers,
a lot, yeah.
numbers.
It's the
You
most,
see a lot of money going around. You start losing touch of reality. I'm
Yeah,
not
I mean,
joking.
you see big numbers all the time. You see every week the DLD numbers, how many billions are sold.
And you
it's
just
not
don't
even real
understand.
anymore, the numbers.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like,
Yeah.
can you imagine a billion in your head? Like, can you visualize it?
No, you can't. It's a lot of
Th-
paper.
It's a lot of money.
Mm.
So now we
It's maybe
actually
this room full of money.
yeah,
Yeah.
but we lost touch of reality because of how much money we go through on a daily
Yeah.
basis.
Yeah. I wish this episode was not in Ramadan, really. I
Why?
really loved it because I would have been more energetic about
More
because
than
Yeah,
that?
more than that.
Oh my
It's
God,
very exciting.
That's a problem.
We have to do another. You know what I'm gonna do, Yasin? Really, I'm gonna make a podcast with you and Camille.
Who's Camille?
Camille he is
The one Providence. you
from
mean?
Providence.
Yes.
Okay.
He is very into luxury and branded residences, and Dubai South. That's his
Camille.
expertise.
Oh, okay.
Camille, yeah. And he's there's you and him, the only people I know who are into luxury.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
It's
I
a
know three
very
people.
niche thing.
Yeah, it's
They
a
need
super
to
niche thing. It
understand what
makes
they're
sense. Yeah.
selling.
It makes
First of
sense.
all.
Yeah.
See, what is there's a lot of agents on their Instagram, the luxury real estate brokers, but
Are they really?
Yeah.
We don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're not
And,
gonna
yeah.
we're
Delve
not
a
gonna
little bit
dash
deeper.
anyone.
Yeah, yeah. Luxury is very because it's somewhere is the only unit that can be investment and for personal use in the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
didn't answer the question that you asked about what's coming in luxury.
sorry.
Oh, you didn't. Yeah.
no, I'm
sorry.
waiting for you
Sorry,
to
yeah.
finish
Yeah,
talking.
that's
It's
fine.
okay.
So what do you think? She
No,
gotta
not
say Mr. A.
think.
Yes,
She
of
gotta
course.
say Mr. A.
It's not thinking. I never do the thinking. I'm a person that is very, very technical. I don't build ideas in my head. I do things that are like tangible. If I like touching and feeling everything. So when I say I am doing that, it means it's available for you to see.
Yeah, Mr. A. They're very passionate about being. I think
Passionate
you're
is
good.
passionate is the correct word.
Yeah, you guys want to be number one luxury.
Yes, we
but I
want it.
think the competition is starting in the luxury now, which is very strange.
Bring
because
it on.
Because Dubai is supposed to be luxury from.
Listen, aren't you gonna be happy if you have a very luxurious project to sell and show off?
No, of course. I mean, the thing is,
I want to
the more
provide
projects that. Are coming at that level, the better for buyers as well. But the buyers want the choice. They don't want to
Yeah.
be
Yes. Of
course, they
pigeonholed into
wanna-
a few different
Like you
projects.
want something major,
Yeah.
go ahead and see it.
Yeah.
That's what we are trying to do. So that's what I'm gonna say. What's coming is my projects.
By the way, Mr. 8 podcast, it's about luxury. Is gonna be soon launched. Only luxury goods, luxury units, luxury
Trophy
furniture,
assets.
trophy assets, bling bling, money in the table and stuff.
Hermes.
Yasin, thanks a lot for coming to Chekd.
No, thank you for having me.
We're gonna definitely do another episode
Yeah, in my studio soon.
in her
also.
studio as well soon.
Yeah.
Taya, thanks again for arranging such an interesting episode for
Yeah, my
Chekd.
friends are very interested.
Yeah, you're doing the PR for Chekd now. And Yasin, you have been checked.
Thank you.
We're done, Aziz. Wow, that was good.
That
Oh
was
wow, that was a quick hour, man.
Yeah, it was good. But it was
Yes,